The night I got shot, I didn't know how bad I was shot.
All right, we are in here for a special edition of Drifting Cowboy Podcast in one of my favorite places in Nashville, the Troubadour. A lot of history in this building, and one of my favorite places to be.
It is, man. It's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of history here. We've had the opportunity to work here, so it's good to be here with you today, man.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. How you been?
I'm doing good. Just getting ready for a new record to come out, man. So we're excited about it.
Oh yeah. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you know, it's called "If I Had a Cheating Heart," and you know, I didn't know it, but it was a single back for Mel Street, I think in '77 or '78, I believe it was. And I had to go back and listen to that record because when I heard it, Ricky Lee and Greg had done it in 1993. So whenever I started recording, then I started looking back on the history of it, and Mel Street had it.
Yeah, one of country music's greatest losses.
Yes.
Was Mel Street.
Yes.
What a talent.
Man, he was. He was.
He could sing with the best. George Jones said he was one of his favorite singers.
He did.
Sang Amazing Grace at his funeral.
Wow.
What a loss. But he left us some incredible music, and I'm glad to hear that you're getting to cover some of it and bring it back out.
Well, I hope they'll like my version of it.
Yes, sir. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, how you came to love country music. And
Well, Dylan, man, you know, I guess, I don't know, when I was a kid, you know, my mom and dad said maybe when I was 2 or 3 years old, I'd pull myself up to the record player and stand there and listen to the music, and I'd dance around, you know. So I really have loved music all my life. And as I got older, I guess my first big influence was Elvis Presley.
yeah,
And I was hooked on Elvis. And then as I got older, then I started hearing George Jones and Johnny Cash and Marty Robbins and, like, you know, all the greats, you know,
Right.
Merle Haggard
Yeah.
and all those guys. And I just fell in love with country music.
yeah. So when did you start pursuing that career?
You know, I guess it was in a, early age. I mean, as I got older, you know, and got into middle school and all of that, and I started playing around with some guys there in school, you know, and you know how some people will do, and
Right.
you know, put a little band together around there in high school, and so we did some of that, and then I ended up going and doing a bunch of things on like the Opries around Texas and Oklahoma, and then I ended up going on to one of the big ones there in the Fort Worth area, was a Johnny High country music review. So I ended up getting on Johnny's show, and then he had me on as a guest and a regular every now and then I got to play the Louisiana Hayride twice.
Oh wow!
So that was a very exciting time, you know, to be able to do that with all the history of everybody who was on the Hayride, you know.
Yeah, talk about a place with history. That's one of them.
For sure.
Elvis and Johnny and all.
Oh,
of them,
yeah,
you know,
Hank Snow and
Hank Sr.
Hank
yeah.
Sr. I mean, man.
Yeah, what an incredible place. So after that, you making a move to Nashville to pursue it?
Well,
or?
I played ball in school as well, you know.
Okay.
So I was in, you know, doing baseball and tennis and football and all that kind of stuff, and I really excelled in baseball. And so whenever I got ready to graduate, you know, I mean, I had to make a decision whether I was wanted to pursue baseball or wanted to pursue music. And you know, if any musician know, man, when you get bit by the music business, I mean, it's just kind of in your blood, you know. And I ended up choosing, you know, to take a career in music, and we ended up moving up here. I think it was in the winter of '84. I graduated in '84, and I think we moved up here either right there at the end of '84.
What was Nashville like in '84?
Oh, man, nothing like it is today, I can tell you, man. I mean, it was exciting for me, you know, to come here because, you know, downtown on Demonbreun, you had all the, you know, everything was right there on that corner, you know. They had all the museums, and Barbara Mandrell's place was there, and just different places. It was an exciting time for me.
Yeah.
You know, it really was.
Yeah, I hear stories about Nashville from those days all the time, and I wish I could have lived it.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot, you know.
It was a lot different.
It seemed a lot closer, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't these big corporations
Right.
like it is today. It was kind of mom and pop type deals on Music Road.
Yeah, it really was, you know. And I mean, you know, now as you go down Music Row, I mean, it's not Music Row anymore. They've you know, they're taking all of the stuff and the history of the town and what it what it really is, to put up high rises and
Right.
townhomes and apartment buildings, and it's really took the history and really the feel of country music out of it for me.
Yeah, it's a shame. We were talking about our mutual friend Gary Gentry.
Yeah.
He's taken me around a dozen times. That Home Depot's where Jim Reeves' house was,
Yeah.
And it is. It's sad,
It is.
Then most of them, there's not even a placard or anything to tell you
what it was about.
at some point. But I guess that's progress, So you got town in '84. Did you have a break to come to town, or was you coming chasing a break?
When we come up here, my mom and dad used to bring me up here when I was a kid, and as I grew, and one of the times we came up here in the latter part of it, we, instead of getting on one of the buses or whatever it was to take the trips around Nashville to, where the home stars are and
Right.
all that kind of stuff, Dad said, well, let's just rent a limousine and, we won't be rushed and maybe they can take us to. So we called this company, my dad did, and this limousine picked us up and took us around showing all the stuff. Well, the guy that was the limousine driver, we told him, who we were and what we were trying to do, and he said, "Man, I know a lot of people in the music business, And at that time, we was thinking, "Oh yeah, right, So he gave us his name and number, and sure enough, to make a long story short, he ended up knowing a lot of people. He knew Jimmy Bowen and
Oh wow.
and all these guys, and it ended up, me and him ended up becoming roommates when I moved up here, and we went in and. We recorded a 3-song demo, and back then you do like a 2 or 3 song demo and get an 8x10 picture and a bio. And I didn't have a bio at the time. He said, "Man, we're gonna have to get a bio made." He said, "Come over, I want you to meet me. We're gonna go over here and down on the row over here." And he said, "We're gonna get your bio made, And
Yeah.
so I go over there and I meet him at this big, one of the big fancy houses, right there on I don't know if it's 16th or 17th at the time. And we ended up walking in and. We walked through, and then these big doors opened up. And there was a lady sitting back there at the table, and she had a big old hat on, And we walk in. He said, "Mae, this is Sammy Sadler." It ended up being Mae Axton. That wrote Heartbreak Hotel, man. So she's the one that wrote my first bio.
Really?
Yeah. So it was, Ronnie knew a lot of people, and sure enough, he knew Mae, and she went in there and wrote my first bio for me.
That is incredible. I love Mae Axton, Hoyt, and Matt, the whole crew.
It's just, incredible, And I mean, at the time, it's like she had this huge hat on, and she's just real upbeat and stuff. I mean, it was cool to be able to meet her and have that as being someone that wrote my first bio. And then she ended up, writing Heartbreak Hotel for Elvis, and I loved Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
So that was an experience.
Yeah. How was she?
She was very nice. She was just nice and kind. Yeah. That's all I can tell you. She was real nice and kind to me.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a very important piece of music history altogether.
Absolutely.
Because she didn't just write that hit. She fostered a lot of,
she did.
Musicians up and coming. I know Blake Shelton was painting her house whenever he heard Old Red, from Hoyt, who was staying in her driveway. So, yeah, that is incredible that your first bio was written by the person who wrote it.
It really is, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So, from there, what happened?
Well, we made the music and put the package together and went around, and Ronnie started going around and pitching it, and we had a couple of labels interested, and at the time, I don't remember who all it was at the time. I remember Step One and then Evergreen, and there was somebody else, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But Step One had called us in, and Ray Pennington was ahead of Step One at the time, and he said, "Sammy," he said, "Man, I really like what you're doing." He said, "But we're about 6 months from being able to do anything." And he said, "I want you to stay in touch with me. I want you to bug me." I said, "Well, man, Ray, I don't want to bug you." He said, "Well, I want you to." And, Ronnie was going around meeting with different people. And then he called me. He said, "Man, Evergreen's interested in talking to you." And so we went over there and talked to them. And, they wanted to sign us. So we ended up going with Evergreen.
Okay. And what year would that have been?
That would have been it would have been somewhere in the early '85, I believe it was.
So it happened
It happened really quick, but then, as back in those days, they wouldn't just go in and cut an album on you. They'd put out singles to kind of see how you did, and like today, there's no artist A&R.
Right.
I mean, but that is how they did stuff back then, and they put out a few singles on us, and then Johnny Morris was ahead of the label, and he said, "Well, I want to teach you too how to promote records. He said, so whenever we're not doing stuff, he said, I want you in the office, working. I'm going to teach you how to promote records at Cashbox. So, I had a list of radio stations that I had to call every week. It was 100 and something stations. And so I started learning that as we went. And then that was in 85. So 85 to 89, I guess they'd put out 6 singles on me. My 6th single was the old Aaron Neville song, Tell It Like It Is.
Yeah.
And we'd remade that, and that took off, and that was my fastest rising single. And so they were wanting to try to get the album finished. And so we started working on that. But as the record went out and started going up the charts, March 9th hit us on March 9th, and then tragedy struck, and that was the end of my career because of all the shooting.
Yeah, so tell us, what led up to, I know you just mentioned you were spending time at Cashbox, and can you just explain what Cashbox was to the people who might not know?
Cashbox in those days was a rivalry to Billboard. So it was competitor to Billboards, and I didn't per se, go to Cashbox or anything. I might have went over a couple times, but Kevin Hughes ended up becoming the Cashbox chart manager. So he was in charge of where the top 100 records would move on the chart. And it just so happened to be that him and I, had struck up a friendship, and we probably knew each other 7 or 8 months when the tragedy hit us with the murder on Music Row.
Yeah.
So, and that record just happened to be out in my fastest rising single that was going up Billboard and R&R and all the charts, and then as that was going up the charts and all that happened, Billy Joe Royal ended up cutting the song, and he had it out, and it ended up being, he named his album Tell It Like It Is, and it ended up being and still being the biggest record of his career.
Oh, wow.
Took it to number 2.
So the events of Murder on Music Row, as
Yeah.
it's called now, you had been with Kevin that day, and you guys had went to get supper, right?
Well, what had happened was at the time I was married at the time, and me and my wife kind of got in an argument. And I didn't want to sit and fuss and fight and argue. I just wanted to get out of the house, and so I didn't even know I was going to see Kevin that day or that night. And I called. I got on the phone. We didn't have cell phones back then, so I was on the house line. I called down to Cashbox and to see if he was there, and it just rang and rang and rang. And I was fixing to hang up, and I thought I heard somebody say hello, and I brought the phone back up to my ear. And it was Kevin. I said, hey, man, what are you doing? He said, I'm just here working on the charts. And I said, well, if you're going to be there a little while, I'll come down and see you. He said, yeah, come on down. I'll leave the door open for you. So I left and went down, and sure enough, I went in. And when I went in, he was on the telephone. So I just started looking at some magazines. And whenever he got off, I said, man, you want to go get something to eat? And he said, yeah. I said, well, where you want to go? He said, I don't know. I said, well, you want to go in my truck, or you want to get in your car? And he said, we'll just jump in my car. So we jumped in his car, and we went down on West End, and we went to, I believe it's Captain D's, and we ate. And once we got through, we stopped by my record company's office on the way back, and got on the phone and talked to I called my mom and dad, and obviously, they had never met Kevin, but I put him on the phone to say hello to him, and he talked to him. And after that, then we heard a rattle at the door. And as we heard that, Kevin went out and looked and come back, and he said, I really couldn't tell anything. Somebody might have been walking down the street. He said, I really couldn't tell. And so we got off the phone and went out. And as we went out on the front porch, we just kind of looked around. We didn't see anything. So we started walking to Kevin's car. And I walked in front and got in, started to shut the door. And as I started to shut the door, I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And I looked up. And when I did, the guy was just right there with a gun on me. And that's when he shot. And that's when everything happened. Yeah.
And it really ended up kind of blowing the top off of stuff that had been going on for a very long time as far as, corruption in the music industry. I've heard stories from a lot of old timers in town about payola and whatnot. And that kind of seemed to be what was the culprit behind.
Well, that's what it ended up all being. I mean,
Yeah.
It took 13 and a half years for them to solve it, and
Yeah.
whenever they finally solved it, that's what it ended up being. They were trying to pay Kevin, the way I understood it, they was trying to pay Kevin money, and he wouldn't take it. He's an honest guy, and that's, it's just a tragedy of what happened.
Yeah, it is. And another tragedy behind all of it is, like you said, you have this single that's rocking and rolling,
Yeah.
and then you're part of something that didn't really have anything to do with you. You're just a victim of being
Well,
in
yeah,
a
I mean,
bad
I
place.
was at the wrong place at the wrong time,
Yeah.
and it's just it's unfortunate, that a man had to die that was an honest guy, and thank God, I'm so thankful God thought enough of me to save me and keep me, but it's just a tragedy for Kevin Hughes to have had to die like that, and then 13 and a half years they kind of implicated that I might have something to do with it or I was involved in it. And here I am bleeding to death, fighting for my life. And, to do that to me and
Yeah.
to do that to somebody. I mean, I took a lie detector test. They took me to Vanderbilt and had me hypnotized. I mean, I've done everything I could do and told the truth. And to me, at some point, you're not a suspect and you're not looked into,
Yeah, and then unfortunately it took so long
Yeah.
for them to figure out what really happened.
Yeah.
Thanks to Unsolved Mysteries.
Well, from what I understood about Unsolved Mysteries, I believe it was on the L.A. Times out there, and they saw it on the front page of the L.A. Times, and they come to Nashville to do it. And since that, I mean, then they did everything. A&E Cold Case Files, Nancy Grace,
Yeah.
all of the crime deals did a lot on it.
So what kind of happened for you? You get out of the hospital and stuff, and you're a victim, and now they're saying that they think you might have had something to do with it. That had to be a horrible time.
It really was, I mean, to have to live the way I had to live for really all the way up until the trial.
Yeah.
Because, never in my mind, I thought I needed an attorney or, I told them everything I knew, and when I got out of the hospital, I was still here living in Nashville, and, they wouldn't let me go anywhere except to the doctor and home. And, so I had to be under that for I don't know how long that was. And then it was just a crazy time, man, to be treated that way and to be looked at like that and put that kind of cloud over you.
Yeah, and the stigma around all
Yeah.
that, the record labels kind
Yeah.
of blackballed you.
I feel like that might have been what happened, because whenever the police did that, I mean, it just kind of made me feel like that's kind of what happened.
So what were those next? I mean, that's been a long time ago now. What has those years since then been like for you?
Well, the night I got shot, I didn't know how bad I was shot, and then I found out that it had severed the main artery in my arm. They had to go in and do a graft to take a artery out of my leg. And if that hadn't took, they'd had to cut my arm off. And then they'd wrap my nerve in some synthetic fiber material, and they were going to have to go back in at a later date to try to do a nerve graft. And so I had to go through two major operations, one that night and then one about 6 months later. I had to get a nerve graft done. So it really took me about 2 years to get back up on my feet after that night.
Well, we're so glad that you were able to survive that horrible experience, and so sorry that you had to go through that.
Well, I appreciate that. One thing that I look back on, Kevin and I had only been friends for about 7 or 8 months, and I feel like as time would have went on, sometimes you meet people you get a feeling and you think, man, we may be friends for a lifetime, and I mean, I feel like as time would have went on, me and Kevin would have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And I found out later that Kevin was a Christian and I wasn't saved that night, and God thought enough of me to pick me up out of that and to save me and give me a second chance in life. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, he seemed like from all the reports, an honest guy, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
he was not mixed up. He was
Yeah.
just in a circumstance where he was around a lot of people who were not.
Yeah, and I
good,
mean,
honest
as I
people.
look back on that, I mean, you could if all of that stuff was going on, Kevin never talked to me. We never talked about the business end of it,
Right.
and what was going on at Cashbox or any of that kind of stuff. So, if to look back on that, and if he was in that kind of position and had those kind of people coming at him and pressure, I mean, just think of the pressure that he probably was under.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So you get healed from all that, and you try to get back into music. Did you experience a lot of pushback?
Well, you know what I did after the murder on Music Row, I ended up going back to Texas, and I moved back to Texas to my home, to where my family was and my roots, and to heal. And I just ended up staying in Texas. I never did move back to Nashville from Texas, and it took me about 2 years to get back on my feet. So I never did at that point come back after a record deal. I just kind of put a band together out in Texas and just started working again. And it took me about, after trying to get the band back together, probably took me a year and a half. So, we just went back out on the road and started playing music after that. And that's kind of what we did.
And have you been playing consistently ever since?
Well, I did some touring from 91 to 98. And then I just kind of got burned out, and I walked away from being booked up 2.5 years in advance back then. And I just kind of left the business for a little while. Ended up going to work for my dad in the construction business.
Yeah.
And I've had that business going ever since. And then we've come back and put some records out, and we've done some touring and stuff. So I've never really left the music business, but the music business hadn't been too kind to us at times.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think of this interview or this podcast, we're talking about kind of a turning of the page.
Yeah.
I know you have new stuff coming out, and you're hitting the road hard again.
Well, we're putting it all together right now. We got that brand new single, If I Hadn't Cheated Hard, that's coming out July the 18th. We got brand new album finished, and we've got in a can, so we don't have to worry about rushing and doing any of that. And we're trying to put some new shows together with me and Dave Gibson right now. And I don't know, Dave?
Oh yeah.
Man, he's wrote some of the most iconic hits in country music, man. So we're putting that together. It's called the Hits and History Tour, and we're so excited to be getting back out and putting everything back together and coming back out and seeing the people.
Yeah, Dave's a fantastic songwriter, so that should be a heck of a show.
He's one of the he's wrote some great records, man. I mean, Jukebox in My Mind for Alabama, and Ships That Don't Come In for Joe Diffie. I mean, some of the most iconic records in the 80s and 90s, man.
Yeah, Ships That Don't Come In, that ended up being Toby Keith's last cut.
It was. Yeah, he was telling me about that.
Yeah, so where can folks go to find where you'll be next?
Well, we're gonna be here in Nashville, August the 23rd at Chiefs.
Oh, nice.
That's where we're kicking stuff off, and then we're starting to put dates together and book on out. So they can go to my website at sammysadler.com. My Facebook is crazy. My original Facebook, the blue check, got hacked about 2.5 or 3 years ago. It's still up out there, and a Vietnamese guy has got it, and I can't get any help to get that down. We've got a new Facebook that we've started, and that was probably a year and a half. It's Sammy Sadler Official, and we're on the way to Nashville this trip, and it's gotten hacked.
Well, if you are able to get that one back or make another one, I'll give you some advice that was given to me.
Okay.
And saved me from that happening to me.
Okay.
A guy that I know, his name's Raymond, he just randomly tells me one day, he said, "Hey man, have you done 2-step verification on your Facebook page?" I said, "No, what is that?" He said, "You might want to, it might save you." And I did it, and 2 weeks later, somebody in another country had got a hold of my password and ID. And was trying to get into my Facebook.
Oh, wow.
So if he hadn't have said that 2 weeks later, and that night I did it on my phone, it saved me. But same thing happened to Jeannie Seeley.
Oh yeah, that's what they were telling me earlier.
Yeah, and I made the mistake of asking her about it one night, and she was hot.
She got irate. Well, I mean, it's a lot of followers.
Yeah.
And for us as independent artists, I mean, I lost nearly 17,000 followers.
Yeah.
And now, like you're talking about doing the 2-step progress, we did that on the new one, and they still got in.
Still got it. Wow.
So I don't know what's going on, and hopefully we'll be able to get it back. But you can't get Facebook to help you do anything.
No, it's tough. But before I forget, you do also have a book.
Yes.
That Hit with a Bullet.
Yes.
Tells your story. Tells your full story.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Dylan. I mean, this is just me telling what I lived through my eyes and what I've experienced and what I've gone through, and. If people want to get it, be sure to go to sammysadler.com, or you can get it on all the streaming deals. It's on Audible. But if you want to get an autographed copy, go to my website, and we'll be glad to autograph it for you. But if people are interested in country music history, if you're interested in how people's careers are really made, I'd urge you to get the book and read it. Anybody that's up and coming, wanting to be in the music business, whether you're a writer, a singer, entertainer, or what, I think it'd benefit you to read it and learn about the music business.
Yeah, well, you were a part, unfortunately, of one of the darkest pieces of country music history, but it is music history.
Yeah.
It happened, and so I'm super excited to dive into this book and read it and get all of the details, because a lot of strange stuff happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's still happening to this day.
Yeah.
But y'all be sure to go check that out and check out SammySadler.com.
Yes, sir.
Catch some of those shows.
Absolutely.
Listen to the new single coming out, and we can't wait for that new album. And
Man, I'm excited about it. If you're in town, come see us on the 23rd, man.
I look forward to it. I'm going to be there for sure. And I just appreciate you for sitting down with us and doing
Thank you so much.
this.
We appreciate you.
And thank you to the Troubadour. If y'all haven't been to the Troubadour in Nashville, it's iconic. Ernest Tubbs' old place. And it's just a great place to catch a show. Sammy will be here,
Yeah.
I'm sure, more than once.
Yeah, we're going to come back, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We love it, man. We had a good time when we was here last time.
Well, thank you, Sammy, and y'all be careful.
Dylan, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, man.